Hello, all. Welcome to the third topic from the fourth unit of soft skills and interpersonal skills. So, today we will be dealing with another kind of writing, that is persuasive kind of writing. So, in the first two sessions of this unit, we spoke about expository writing and we spoke about descriptive writing. And as you can recall, expository writing is mainly, focused on facts and evidences and logic dominates. While in your descriptive writing, of course, you can use facts or you may not use facts, but there is more room for imagination. There is more space for imagination and there is more space for creativity. Okay. And we also learned that in descriptive writing, a literary language is more important than your technical language, right? And it is mainly written to create a sense of fulfillment in the readers so that they find an aesthetic pleasure out of reading that, right? So now comes our third topic, which is persuasive writing. Okay, so now what exactly is persuasive writing? So the word persuasive, if you know the word, if you look up the dictionary, the word persuasive comes from the verb persuade. Persuade means to convince somebody into doing something or taking up any action. Okay, so that is your persuade. That means persuade, and persuasive comes from the word persuade only. Okay, so let us see what persuasive writing is. So, persuasive writing is basically a kind of a writing that you do in order to persuade somebody about your point of view, in order to influence somebody about your perspective, about your opinion, and to influence that person to accept your opinion. And it's also can be used as a call to action, especially if you're writing a protest literature. If you're writing a protest literature and if you're urging the people to protest along with you, then that is also a call to action, and that can also be referred to as a persuasive writing. So, persuasive writing is basically a writing which is intended to convince or influence readers to accept a particular idea or opinion and inspire action. Okay. Now, what are the kinds of writings which can be, classified as persuasive writing? First you have criticisms, reviews, reaction papers, editorials, proposals, advertisements, and brochures. Okay, and these use different persuasive techniques to influence readers. Okay, so persuasive writing can also be used for indoctrination, where if you are trying to indoctrinate somebody into accepting or embracing an ideology, then that is indoctrination. Now that can be a bit controversial because if you're trying to indoctrinate somebody with a particular ideology, then that becomes corrupting an ideology. But then again, we don't want to get into philosophy and all, but for you it is just important to know that it can also be used for indoctrination. Okay. uh, then comes, uh, yeah. So persuasive writing is also of course non-fiction. Okay, so where the writer is using logical arguments, carefully chosen words and phrases, and of course some pieces of literature are also rooted in the fiction genre. Okay, which can be classified as persuasive writing. So if you read a protest literature, if you watch a protest movie, then that can also be referred to as a persuasive kind of an art. Okay, now what are the categories? So we have persuasive writing can be categorized into five types, and they are rhetoric, craftsmanship, authenticity, reflexivity, and imagination. Okay, now, rhetoric. Okay, so the art of persuasion lies at the very core of rhetorical writing. So, rhetorical writing means that you are using a very elevated language, and it doesn't need to be elevated language always, but you are, using an elevated manner to persuade somebody. And for this, rhetoric in turn consists of three elements, which are ethos, pathos, and logos. Okay, what is ethos? Ethos comes from the word ethics, or rather ethics comes from the word ethos. Okay, so ethos refers to the credibility or ethical appeal of the writer. So if you're trying to persuade somebody, that thing has to be ethically right, that has to be morally right, morally correct. So if your persuasion, or if your ground for persuasion is not based on strong ethics and morals, then that persuasion will be questioned at the very foundation, right? Then comes your pathos. Now, pathos appeals to the reader's emotions, values, and desires. Okay, and it includes creating an emotional response or motivating the audience to act by eliciting feelings such as fear, pity, or joy. Okay, so that is your pathos. So in pathos, basically you appeal to the emotion of the audience, and the audience's emotions should be stirred to such an extent that they should rise up in action. That they should feel that okay, no, we should be doing something about it. And yeah, I mean, it is indeed whatever is happening is not right. So this the pathos element that you try to appeal, or that you try to hit in the audience, is mainly seen when you are doing, or when you are trying to bring a kind of a revolution. Okay, it is at that point that the pathos is something that you target at. Then comes a logos. Logos means a logical appeal. So logic comes from the word logos. Logos means logical appeal. It needs to have whatever your persuasion is, it needs to be built upon reason, logic, and you know uh, reason, logic, and evidence. Okay, so here facts are also important for your persuasive writing. Just like your expository writing, facts are extremely important. Okay, then the next type that we have is craftsmanship. Now, the craftsmanship is the careful use of language, appropriate vocabulary and grammar in expressing your ideas and creating a logical flow of ideas. So that is your craftsmanship. Then comes authenticity. Now, authenticity will come from believability and credibility. So, whatever you are doing, whatever you are saying, has to be credible, has to be, rooted in facts and evidences. And it is only when it is rooted in facts and evidences that you will be believed. And it is only when you are believed that your persuasion will be taken up seriously. Okay, so authenticity is extremely important. Now, next comes your reflexivity. So, as a writer of persuasive writing, you need to have a sense of critical self reflection of your own perspective and potential biases. So, when you are persuading something, so what happens is that when you are writing a persuasive write up, or suppose when you are, speaking in a persuasive way, we tend to be carried away by our own vocabulary, because even language has the ability to deceive. If it is not used in the proper manner, even language has the ability to deceive. Okay, so in order to prevent that from happening, what we do is that, or what the writer should do is that, when he or she is writing a persuasive write up, he or she should see to it that whatever he is saying is is rooted in logic, is rooted in facts, is rooted in evidences, and they are not something that he has brought out of thin air. Okay, so that has to be taken into account. So reflexivity means that the writer has to reflect on what he is saying. He has to reflect on whether he is factually right, whether he is evidentially right, and whether he is, logically right. So that is your reflexivity, where the writer himself or herself reflects. Then comes a sense of imagination. Now, imagination plays a key role in persuasive writing. So even though fact should be the basic foundation, you can use your imaginative skills, like storytelling, metaphor, vivid imagery, all of these things for your persuasive writing. Okay, so you can use all of these things for your persuasive kind of a write up. Okay, and one example of such usage of such imagination and creativity can be found in the speech "I Have a Dream" by Martin Luther King Jr., which he had actually delivered in 1968 in Washington DC. Okay, you can look that up on the internet. It is available on YouTube, and the transcript of that is available on Google as well. Okay, so with this, we come to the end of persuasive writing. I will again come back with the next kind of a writing, and with that, we'll be finishing with the first half of Unit 4. Okay, thank you for listening.